Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja Devedi, and in this segment today we are going to analyze how India has achieved historic exports of merchandise. This is very important for us to understand from the perspective of preliminary examination, the facts, and from the perspective of GS Mains Paper 3. It is important for us to understand what were the initiatives that worked, what are the challenges, and what is the way forward. So these many topics are going to be covered, and as you can see, we are starting with the tweet of the Prime Minister of India, where he congratulated farmers, weavers, MSMEs and other exporters for having a stake in the achievement of $400 billion worth of exports. Very importantly, last year itself, the Prime Minister had spelled out the strategy for achieving this, and it is very important to know that this target has been achieved 9 days ahead of its deadline. So I have also added certain pictures which were tweeted by the Prime Minister himself for you to understand the key points to take it from. So you see that history scripted and actively engaging export promotion councils, industry associations and other stakeholders worked. Also, whole of government approach with closer interaction worked at the level of states, not only states but district as well. So, micromanaging of exports was happening. Closer engagement with exporters and faster resolution of issues. Until and unless you do not communicate, we will not know about the issues and hence we can't solve it. So, these are the key points. Another thing to keep in mind, that the target has been achieved 9 days ahead of the schedule. Every day worth $1 billion of exports were happening. Every hour it was $46 million and every month it was $33 million. Also, if we talk about another very important aspect, that there has been a 37% increase from the last fiscal, which scripted itself with an export boost of $292 billion and now it's $400 billion. So these are the things that you might need to know from the perspective of prelims, from the perspective of mains as well, what worked. Now 4 factors were taken into consideration last year when the Prime Minister, when India wanted to boost its exports. First was increasing domestic manufacturing so that India can become an Atmanirbhar Bharat. We do not have to depend on another places for getting the proper manufacturing, then ironing out the problems of transport. Once you have manufactured your product, you have to make the transport smooth and seamless so that no hassles are there. And logistics for that was needed. Proper infrastructure, shipment, freight, everything needed to be put into place. There was also a need for the center and also the state governments to walk shoulder to shoulder with the exporters and expanding international market for Indian products. As every state is very different, every state has its own speciality of raw materials and resources. So states also had to have an engagement with the exporters, and that is why districts were unit of interaction here. Moving on, if we talk about the significance of the achievement, why are we even discussing it? As it is for the first time ever, we have to understand that over the last 9 years, merchandise, that means goods, merchandise exports in India have been around $260 to $330 billion. And the highest ever was $330 billion in 2018 and 19. Now the government has set up a target. What is the next target? $1 trillion in 2027-2028. This is a prelims fact. Please keep in mind. Okay, $1 trillion of merchandise exports we have to achieve as a country till up to the year 27 and 28. Okay, and this will be exports for merchandise exports and 500 billion exports in the next 2 years. Again, 2 prelims facts I have pointed out here. Okay, then it represents a growth. This event represents a growth of over 21% if we compare it to the last year in exports compared to the previous record high of $330 billion. So this was in 2018, not last year. I said last year, but it is not last year. It's 2018, 2019 compared to 2022, 2021, 2022. Okay. So keep all these preliminary facts in mind. One thing that we have to understand is see that although we have exported a lot, but we also have imported a lot. So the trade deficit should be kept in mind when we are dealing with preliminary facts. Also, why have we achieved this? Some experts point out to the fact because of the lockdown was a lot of pent-up demand. So as soon as the lockdown and restrictions were uplifted, the market could be captured easily by the Indian government. Okay. And also the expansionary policies which were in practice in many countries helped this. Now, if we talk about the major drivers of growth, what actually contributed to the growth, which are the sectors that we have to take here? First is engineering goods, which have shown a growth of 49.7% in the first 11 months of 2021-2022. Then we have electronic goods exports, which grew by 42.8%. This is also very important because our country, not our country, but the entire globe is moving towards the digital arena much faster than it would have been if pandemic did not happen. So this is very important. It's a good indicator that India is doing good in this segment as well. Gems and jewelry exports, one of our powers, grew by 57.3%, and exports of petroleum products grew by 147.6%, which was driven by a steady increase in crude oil prices. Now, these things that we have to keep in mind from the prelims as well as mains point of view. Initiatives and incentives that worked. Foreign trade policy, which was formulated for the year 2014 to 2019, which serves as the anvil of many facets that we have under our foreign trade policy, worked, and it was extended up to year 2021 as well. So these things worked. First, foreign trade policy. Then reduction in transaction cost through initiatives for simplification of documentation and procedures. Not the fee that was being charged was lessened, and as we move towards paperless economy for ease of doing business, the cost of papers it was reduced. Plus, there was seamless transfer of knowledge as we move to the digital arena. Digitization means moving towards paperless economy, and that was much faster accessible, easier to get any knowledge about any documentation or clearances. Then the advance authorization scheme. Also, the export promotion capital goods scheme, it is being implemented in order to have a duty-free import of raw materials. So raw materials, if they would have cost more, then export capitalization could not have happened. So in order to make that easier, we have two policies: advance authorization scheme and export promotion capital goods. Okay. Then we also have the interest equalization scheme, which provides pre and post shipment rupee export credit. Then we have remission of duties and taxes on exported products scheme that has been in effect from 1st January 2021. This replaced the merchandise export of India scheme, merchandise export of India scheme. And under this, whatever funds have to be rebated that are embedded in the taxes. See, one exporter might pay taxes and duties, and he shall get refund in the later period. So that was made faster. It wasn't recoverable faster, but after the remission of duties and taxes on exported products, the funds could be given back to them faster. Whatever funds were embedded in taxes and duties which were not recoverable, that made the exporters to have a lot of good amount of capital for further investment. Then transport and marketing assistance scheme for specified agricultural products, so that the transport of Indian agricultural goods in the globe was much easier. Freight and everything was also taken into account. And in order to boost the benefits and the standing of Indian agricultural products, transport and marketing assistance scheme was also started. Okay. Then a common digital platform for certificate of origin has been launched in order to boost free trade agreement which can be utilized by exporters. Then also districts, as I told you, are being promoted as export hub because every district has unique raw material, every district has specialized labor for it. So districts were seen as unit. This has a lot of benefit, not only for export, but also for development of that region. Moving on, if we talk about the challenges, there are still many challenges that India faces, which we need to iron out. We have to see that India has a low level of participation in global value chain as compared to its southeastern counterparts as well as China. So we have to increase the level of participation, increase the level of our goods values in the global value chain. We have very low penetration in the high income countries. We cater to the lower income countries, but in order to increase our foreign reserves, we also have to specialize in products that cater to the higher income countries. Specialization versus diversification. Mostly India talks about diversification, but we can also balance it out with specialization. Diversification has its benefits, but specialization gives boost to diversification, right? In order to provide many products in one basket, we also have to make sure that quality of those products are also increased so that it can go to high income countries. Imports have grown even faster. This is one of the challenges. In only the first 11 months of this fiscal 21-22, $550 billion worth of imports have been taken into consideration for India. So that is something, it's increasing our trade deficit. Also, the rising prices of commodities with respect to crude oil prices have put a pressure on the Indian economy that we have to take care of. What is the way forward? First way forward is we have to have a stable policy. We cannot change our policy every now and then because that will prove to be a jolt in the knees of exporters and industrialists. Ease of doing business with respect to seamless and smoother logistics, proper infrastructure should be provided, lesser and lesser time for building and establishing a center for foreign investment should also be given. Labor laws, land laws, dispute resolution should be fastened. Also, import substitution. Even if we are exporting more, that is good. But we have to notice that we have to see, we cannot import more and more because then what will happen? Our foreign exchange, foreign reserve will be depleted. So we also have to manufacture those products which we can substitute our imports from. Okay, long-term policy for lesser dependence for crude oil, mostly investment in renewable energy, mostly we have to invest in our own basins which have natural gas and oil, and these things will help. India imports a lot of coal, gold and crude oil. So that is something that we have to see. We cannot import so that our foreign reserves can be taken care of. We have to specialize as well as diversify. I have explained this point in the challenges itself. So let's move on to our mains based question. Okay. Although India has achieved the set goal of $400 billion of exports of goods, but its imports have also significantly increased and we have to comment upon it in 250 words. Okay. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.